Um, I recorded a pretty long video about part-time and full-time coding boot camps, and I decided to split it up into two parts because it was kind of too long to put in one video. So this, what you're about to see, is part one of part-time versus full-time coding boot camps. I hope you enjoy the video, and I'll see you next time. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today today I figured I'd go over some tips, not really tips. What am I doing? What video am I doing? Okay, today I figure I would go over some of the differences between part-time and full-time coding boot camps. I got a list, of course. Ooh, you can't really see it, but it's a list of things between part-time and full-time. I tried to, I focused on kind of a wide array of areas. As some of you may know, I TA at a part-time boot camp, and I went through a full-time coding boot camp last year. So I figured I would kind of hop up on here and tell y'all some of like the things that I noticed are differences or things that are the same, whatever. So I'm hoping these are in order. I typed these out a couple days ago, and yeah, let's just get right into it. So I'm just gonna hop back and forth between the two and hope it makes sense. And the way I wrote it, it should make sense, but that's been a couple days, so forgive me if it doesn't. I might be all around the place. It's okay, we'll go with it. So let's start with the basics. The coding bootcamp itself. So if you see my paper, no, you can't see my paper, but you know, if you see my paper up, that's what I'm doing, reading. The basics, the coding bootcamp itself. So for full-time, you definitely have to quit your job. That's a given. It's really risky, and I only recommend it to those people that are like, you know what? I've coded before, or I've studied computer science before, or I've been in the, you know, as long as you're very sure, I would go all in. If you're one that heard about a coding bootcamp, or yeah, if you heard about coding from somebody else and they told you it was cool and you're like, oh, I could do this because you saw it do something, then you probably don't want to do the full-time one. You might want to stick with the part-time one, just because I feel like when you're doing it part-time, you're not as committed. And I don't know how it is when you like go in and go out, like how it is to like quit without getting your money back. I don't know how that works, but just something to keep in mind. For the part-time, the particular boot camp I'm involved with is affiliated with a university, which can be a plus. People like things from universities, so maybe that will work in your favor. With the full-time, you definitely have more time to code. It's like that's what you do all day. You can code all day, and you should code all day. For the part-time one, you have less time to code throughout the day. Because you still have a full-time job, so you have to make time. So in either way, there's definitely tons of material that you have to learn, but it's consistent and is presented in a way that builds upon each new thing. That's what each boot camp does. Each of them try to build upon something next, but I might talk about that a little bit later. Yeah, so the next thing is content. Content, that's what we care about. And forgive me, guys, I am literally hopping back and forth here. So, hold on, actually. As far as content is concerned, for the full-time coding bootcamp, there are like each month you have a final exam. You have to sit in class and do that exam for 4 hours it takes. And it's actually, when you really think about it, it's pretty simple. You build a full stack web application in those 4 hours, and I got through it all. There were times when I just could not get it working, but I took the test again and maybe I was able to get it working. There was one in particular that I could not do, like no matter how many times I took it, I failed. But yes, but for the most part I finished them and I did pretty well. So for, let's just stick with content for full-time. So also for full-time, the homework that we have are the assignments affiliated with each of the particular modules that we're going through. So if we're studying JavaScript, then there's not really homework. There are assignments that you complete that build up to ultimately a full stack web application at the end of 4 weeks. I like the format of the full-time coding bootcamp because they had videos as well as a mix of kind of in-person things as well. Like the videos would be over not necessarily the assignments, but concepts to help you grasp it a little bit better. And I feel like that is totally beneficial, and it just depends on your style of learning. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But for me, I liked that because I was able to get like the videos and people like explaining things to me. So it worked in my favor. The next thing is the platform. So Coding Dojo had a platform they teach from. I don't really know how things are structured now because I'm not there. But they had a platform where you have to go in, you have to log in with your username and password, and once you're there, they have different, I mentioned modules earlier, but they had different sections. You know, they had like a mean stack, and they had a Ruby on Rails, and they had a stack for PHP Code Igniter. So, and also additional ones as well. And once you get into that particular stack, there was 4 or 5 different modules that you go through, right? So if it's mean stack, you have JavaScript, you have a part where they go over Angular just by itself, and then that's what you spend 3 weeks doing. You go over the pieces individually, and then you bring them together that final week. And it's normally over the course of 3 or 4 days, you basically are building full stack web applications. So that was pretty cool. Now, on to the part-time one, and again, this is just for my particular boot camps that I'm involved with. I don't know how everybody else does it. But as far as the content, I feel like this content is kind of a little all over the place, just when it comes to like actually step by step by step. I've heard from some students where they're like, especially with homework, they're like, well, we didn't go over this in class, and how am I supposed to know how to do it? So it's kind of like, well, if you didn't even touch on it at all, that's one thing. But then also, like, you do have to research and find things and come up with your own conclusions. And there definitely were times in the full-time boot camp where I didn't know all the answers and I had to go find them. So that's kind of the same across all boards. Homework on the part-time side is due every week, which is kind of a bind when you have a full-time job and you go to school and you got your homework due. And it's not like, you know, write a paper type of homework. It's more like make an application type of homework. So, you know, it's definitely a little bit more difficult, you know, and not really difficult, but just you have to juggle some things around to get some things done is all. The videos they have videos, but the videos are mainly just to go over homeworks. There have been a few that go over like, you know, other assignments or whatever, or other projects. And even, they go through assignments in class too, but they're very, very small assignments. And some of them they don't build. Some of them they do build, but some of them they're just like, here's this concept we wanted to teach you, and it's kind of like, okay. So yeah, I feel like, and then the last thing for the content for the part-time, the content is pretty much spoon-fed, as I like to call it, to the students in the part-time boot camp, which means it's we transfer the information over to them, and when they get the information, they're able to use it. And it's just like in the class. So like, we're in the classroom, there's this assignment, and that's when you get the direction to do that assignment. You can't really move past that part until you get additional direction. You could certainly do things on your own, and I recommend it, but a lot of times it's like, well, how it is that we're going to give you this assignment to do, and then we're going to give you this homework to do, and then, you know, that sort of thing, which for me is a little frustrating, especially if you're trying to get ahead or something like that. So that's just something to keep in mind.